Hello, Lions fans, and welcome back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving in. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. This is going to be an episode that I'm pretty confident a lot of Lions fans are going to have something of some nature to say about. Because I'm going to say this. Again, I've been talking about it all off season, and I started picking up on it and started making content about it in the last couple of days. But I'm going to say this right now. For Lions fans, as I said in a previous episode yesterday, I'll put the link to that episode back up at the top. But yesterday, for about the majority of the day, the Lions had another chance. They had another shot to potentially go out and sign edge rusher Danielle Hunter. And it was like, okay, the Lions still have a shot. They still have a chance to go out and get this big-time player. They still have a chance to significantly, vastly improve the defense with one major signing. And again, a lot of Lions fans have been clamoring for this move to be made. They wanted that move to be made. And I'm going to say this, it looked like I said, there was a possibility it could happen. But then all of a sudden, late last night at around, 6:30, 7 o'clock, it came across the wires that Danielle Hunter had decided to sign with the Houston Texans. Now, that news in and of itself was a disappointment. That news in and of itself was like, crap, we just missed out on yet another major free agent that a lot of Lions fans wanted. Because again, you have to understand something here. There were a lot of free agents, as I've said before, that Lions fans really, really wanted to have come to Detroit. And virtually all of them, actually, no, not virtually, every single one of them went and signed somewhere else. And Danielle Hunter was just the latest, but probably the biggest name that a lot of Lions fans now had to realize was not going to come to Detroit. But this particular move, I'm going to say this right now. In my honest opinion, I think probably stung the worst. And the reason why is because if you think about it, for a lot of Lions fans, they had already heard the news that according to ESPN, from a tweet that had been put out on Twitter, that Danielle Hunter was looking for a supposed $30 million a year average contract. Which, that right there, for a lot of Lions fans, kind of was leaning them in the direction that, well, if that's what he's looking for, that's going to be a bit of a problem because that's a lot of money. Again, if you guys take a look at this screenshot that I found on Over the Cap, $30 million a year, that is just outside of freaking Nick Bosa, the edge rusher for the 49ers. And he makes $34 million on average a year. So it was like, okay, you're talking about this guy becoming the second highest paid edge rusher in the NFL, but even more so, you have to think about it in perspective to the rest of the NFL free agency market right now. Think about it. Baker Mayfield just signed, what was it, a 3-year contract, 4-year contract, something like that, and it was for $100 million. And it's like, okay, here. That right there is very, very close, if not in the same ballpark as what Baker Mayfield just made, and Baker Mayfield's a quarterback. It's like, you're talking about quarterback money now. I understand Baker Mayfield's not a top 10 quarterback, but it's like, listen, you're still talking about a starting quarterback in the NFL. It's starting quarterback NFL money. That's a lot of money to be putting into an edge rusher. So it's like, okay, keeping that in perspective, keeping that in mind, I was like, okay, what are the realistic chances, if this report is true, that, Danielle Hunter's looking for a $30 million average per year contract, that the Lions are realistically going to go after and sign him? I was going to say this, not very good at all, because it's like, I can understand you wanting to go out and get a top-end edge rusher and maybe spending $20 to $25 million, because it's like, okay, that I can work with. But $30 million, that's a little rich for my blood. Now, that was the report. The reality on the situation, as I already said, is this. We found out that, Danielle Hunter signed with the Houston Texans. But it wasn't for anywhere close to what the report was supposedly saying. He signed a 2-year, $49 million contract with, if I recall correctly, $48 million of it guaranteed. So it was virtually a completely guaranteed contract. But again, I'm not a mathematician, but since 49 is close to 50, it's like, okay, you're talking about a $25 million per year contract there. So in essence, over 2 years, you're paying the guy almost $25 million a year. That to me is at least respectable. I can, at least get on board with that. It's like, hey, Danielle Hunter, the guy's got 87 and a half sacks in his career in the NFL. He's 11th on the all-time sack leader for active players. If you sign him to the Detroit Lions, you're going to be getting an instant upgrade for a player that can help out the entire defense's ability to play. So it's like, yeah, for $25 million for a player that can absolutely do that for your defense, I can get behind that. Is it going to be expensive? Yeah, it's going to be expensive. Good players are going to be expensive. Players that are going to make a difference are going to require you to spend money. So it's like, okay, I can get behind that. But then it's like, at the same time, in the back of my head, I'm kind of fighting the logic battle. It's like, is that something that Brad Holmes is going to do? Part of me said, well, if he's really serious about, getting the Lions to a Super Bowl, if he thinks that that's going to be what it's going to take to get us to a Super Bowl, then yeah, I could see him making that move. But then I was also like, well, wait a minute here. What's Brad Holmes' track record when it comes to handing out free agent contracts? That's right. Let's back that train up for half a minute. Again, the largest free agent contract that Brad Holmes has given and still given out to this point was the contract he gave to Cameron Sutton last year, which was a 3-year, $33 million contract. So it's like, wait a minute here. That's $11 million on average a year if you do the math. $25 million on average a year is still a vast sight difference than $11 million on average a year. So it's like, okay here. If I'm doing that kind of a logic, then what was the realistic chances that the Lions were ever going to nab Danielle Hunter? I'm going to say this. Pretty much not very good. But that doesn't matter to Lions fans. What matters to Lions fans is the fact that, okay, we have seen what Brad Holmes now has done when it comes to the free agency market for the last, 3 years. And I'm going to say this right now. I am completely neutral when it comes to the whole Brad Holmes free agency prospect because you have to understand something here. I have seen what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have been able to do over the last 3 years, and I can say, listen, even though there are decisions I'm questioning, even though I'm wondering how this is going to work, I trust Brad Holmes, I trust Dan Campbell. Again, I am human. I have the ability to not necessarily agree with something, but still trust a person. But I can tell you this right now. I had people, after they found out that Danielle Hunter was going to the Texans, and when they found out how much he was going to the Texans for, I literally had people that texted me or sent me messages and they said, I'm done. That was like the final straw that broke their back because to them, they are tired of the nickel and dime effect that Brad Holmes is doing in free agency. And it's like, to a certain extent, again, I'm trying to be neutral here. I can understand where that perspective is coming from because it's like, listen, the Lions have a crap ton of free agency money that they can potentially use this year. But again, the Lions are deciding to stay with the guys that they have. They're deciding to keep that money so that way they can use it to extend players like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Taylor Decker, Jared Goff, Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson. They are wanting to keep that money for those extensions rather than going out and spending big time in the free agency pool. And again, it's like, it's hard to argue with the logic when the Lions got to a conference championship game last year. But again, for some Lions fans, they keep saying, well, that's great. We got to the conference championship game last year. But if you want to take that next step, you want to go to that Super Bowl, you want to win that Super Bowl, you have to open up the purse strings. You have to go out and get big time talent so you can get to that big time game. And that right there is the conundrum. That right there is the constant battle that a lot of Lions fans are having to deal with right now. It's like, listen, we appreciate what we've gotten so far. We like what we've gotten so far. But Lions fans are like, if you want to take that next step, the natural logical jump in conclusion is you need to bring in more talent. You need to bring in somebody else that can get you to that next step, to that next stage. The only thing I'm going to say is this. Even if the Lions got to the conference championship game last year, we have to understand something here. At halftime, it looked like the Lions were running away with it. And again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. The Lions were literally within a whisker of getting to a Super Bowl with the roster they had last year. So in my mind, for Brad Holmes, that is validation that the roster is a lot closer to getting to that Super Bowl, is a lot closer to winning that Super Bowl than what some Lions fans might be thinking. Because it's like, hey, If we were that close, do we really need to go out and make a big splash like Danielle Hunter? Do we really need to go out and make a big splash like Christian Wilkins or Robert Hunt? In Brad Holmes' mind, that's probably not the case, because it's like, hey, the process that we've had up to this point has gotten us here. Do we really need to avert course and need to start going out and making huge splashes like Danielle Hunter? Probably not. But again, for some Lions fans, the prospect of, losing Danielle Hunter yesterday and all these other free agents that they wanted, I'm going to just say it quite bluntly, quite plainly. They're pissed. They're livid. It's like, listen, we're tired of sitting back and not seeing anything being done in free agency, and then we have to wait till the draft and hope and pray that these rookies work, which I'm going to say this right now. Considering Brad Holmes' track record in the draft, that happens to work a lot more often than not. So it's like, trust Brad Holmes' ability to make this roster work, because, hey, it's been working. For 3 straight years, we've seen steady progress, and we've gone from being a bottom feeder team to a Super Bowl contender team. So again, I understand that a lot of Lions fans, they're not happy that they lost Danielle Hunter. They're not happy with what Danielle Hunter signed to go to the Texans. But it's like, listen, I'm trying my best to remain neutral as a Lions fan. I'm trying my best to simply say, listen, I understand Lions fans' frustrations. I understand why they are not happy about this situation. But you have to trust Brad Holmes, because he's the guy that brought you to the dance. He's the guy that's gotten you this far. You have to keep trusting him, because what he has done has worked. But anyway, folks, just going to cut that off right there. I know that for a lot of Lions fans, this is a very sore topic. This is a very painful topic for them right now. But again, that's the reality of the situation. So, I'm going to just say thank you all for watching another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you enjoyed what you saw, by all means, highly encourage you all to do one of these 3 things: like, comment, and subscribe. If by chance you subscribed in the past, forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed, not had a chance to do so, again, please subscribe. Highly encourage you all to do it. I'm thankful for every subscription that I can get. But also, make sure after you subscribe to hit that bell notification icon at the bottom to go with it, so that way you never miss any more content that I push out. Again, subscription numbers always going up, but we want to make sure that you guys are able to come right back into the streams as soon as they become available. Also want to encourage you all to please share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody that you can. The more we share it, the greater the channel spreads, the greater the channel grows. And with that being said, to everybody, I hope you all are having a great day. I hope you all are having a blessed day. Hope that you guys have something in your life that makes you happy. And with that, hope you all enjoyed the content. God bless. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.